Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, and I hope you're having a great learning experience so far. Please keep sharing your thoughts and let us know your key takeaways from your favorite sessions. Up next, we have yet another one on one chat on the topic the future of remote working, the shape of things to come. We all know there is so much discussion and debate going around how the world of work functions and will continue to function. Will it remain hybrid? Will it be back to the old normal? How can CEOs think differently to solve this dilemma? And to understand more from a CEO's point of view, today we have with us Jasmmine Wong, CEO of Inchcape, Greater China and Singapore, a part of Bernu Motors and Inchcape Automotive Services. Welcome, Jasmmine. It is such a pleasure to host you today.
It's a pleasure too. Yeah.
Thank you. And let's jump right into the discussion. There's so much that I want to hear from you and learn from you, Jasmmine. As a leader, you have always focused on the big picture, giving everyone a space to work their way towards desired results. In these couple of years specifically, how has the journey been for Inchcape and what have been some of your major learnings?
I think the biggest learning I have during these few years is that we need to give our employee a sense of ownership, entrepreneurial skills, and also the willingness to innovate. So the needs to give them a lot more space is become more prevalent in this world of context that we are talking about, so that they can take ownership towards moving towards the result. And we as the organization have to provide an environment that's supportive and also conducive enough and encourage them to take risk idea to the next level.
Those are some great thoughts, Jasmine. And I'd really like to appreciate the fact that, yes, ownership, flexibility have become very important for employees today. It cannot be a top-down approach anymore. Organizations have to listen to what their employees want. What is it that aspires, that, matches their aspirations more, help them become entrepreneurs and give them the flexibility to work the way they want to work. That is where they'll bring their whole selves to work and overall add to the success of the organization. So very, very important. And for organizations to create that environment of innovation, create that environment of flexibility and giving decision-making powers to your employees basically at the end. So that's very, very important. Some key takeaways from you. So thanks for sharing that, Jasmine. Also, the big question that everybody is seeking answers to these days, Jasmine, is about will remote work? How will it shape in the long term? As a CEO, what do you think? Are we planning to continue? Do you think it will fade away slowly, or do you think it's here to stay?
Personally, I think it'll be here to stay. I think this is a very big experiment, and I think it was like the offspring of a pandemic with COVID, where we were told that over the last 1 year to learn how to cope with a flexi working schedule. And I'm beginning to see the benefit because my whole organization currently is on a flexi schedule and it's on a hybrid models whereby each and every one of the staff just have to need to commit to 3 days of 6 hours, irregardless of how the 6 hours like. Is all flexibility. I believe personally that it has been very helpful. It has been a great retention strategy. In fact, when we were interviewing new talent nowadays, the first question they're asking me is not about whether how much extra pay or extra career advancement they're going to get. But the strange thing is that every one of them will ask me the questions that, are we embracing flexi working schedule? So when I say yes, we did, they were very excited. In fact, they even asked me a little bit more about what it is all about. So I believe this is a phenomenon that's here to stay because what we really want is to get the productivity of the employees, not so much about the time. Time and productivity are two separate things because they can be effective and they can work according to the space that they want to be without being tied to the office hour because they can actually be more flexible. And I think in the end, they're happier worker. They're also able to stay longer term and they're also willing to invest their time, energy, and resources more effectively with us.
I absolutely agree with you. I think a lot of research reports have come out in the past 1 year where they've said that flexibility is like one of the top asks that every candidate is asking when they're trying to join an employer. The great resignation was actually kind of revolved around flexibility in a large way because employees who did not get that flexibility plan to move on to another employer. So very interesting point. And organizations, again, as you said, productivity has nothing to do with time. Productivity has nothing to do with where you're working from. If it's flexible, if people are being able to give in their best selves and contribute in that manner, I think that's very, very important. So thanks for sharing that, Jasmine. Moving on to our next question for this conversation, creating a culture of innovation and mobility for your workforce has been your topmost priority, and you just spoke about it also. So how do you think can leaders relook at their strategies in the current world of work, especially when the theory around the future of remote work keeps changing?
Yeah, I think as a leader, we need to be open-minded and flexible ourselves. So we have to believe that it's just doesn't going to stay as where it is today, but we always have to keep in track on what is a new technology that's available right now and what's the trend that's available right now. Because in order to enable the workforce to be flexible and remote working, we need to make sure we equip them with the best tool so that they can actually contribute effectively, irregardless of where they are. So that's very important. Number two, we also have to look at the trend because the trend as in what is the best optimal timing flexor schedules that will help in the workers and in employees mind frames and everything. So I think we always have to be open, be willing to change and be willing to experiment. But importantly is that we always adopt the philosophy of listening to our people's voice. We conduct a yearly survey to ask them for their feedback, and they are supposed to share with us how would they want their working style to be like in the future, and how do they believe that by doing so they can even contribute more than what they're contributing right now. And we take that approach quite seriously, and this indeed will help us to shape our future flexi schedule and how our strategy moving forward.
So if you could tell me a little more about that, as part of your survey, what kind of inputs did you get, or what did you hear from your employees? Is the majority of your workforce looking for more flexibility and space to innovate? What were the survey results like for you?
Well, the survey content is about what kind of flexibility do they want and how, as a result, the management can accept more accountability because
Exactly.
it has to be a two-way process. It's
Yeah.
not about giving them absolute freedom, but at the same time, they have to come up with suggestion on
Yes.
how can they be productive, how can they continue to be part of our culture. Because one of the biggest challenge of remote work is that the staff lost the connection, the
Yeah.
collaboration, as well as the culture.
Exactly.
So to us is that we feel that if you were to come back to office, everyone must contribute what we call collaborative schedule, meaning to say that when they come back, it is not just to do telco with other colleagues virtually, but rather there are times that they gather together, interact, foster, and build the culture.
Yeah.
So the survey was very interesting because the current practice of 3-day flexi was actually proposed by them. And in return, we call that the collaborative timing, whereby for each time they are here, there must be a meeting schedule to make sure that they meet up in a team directly with one another, and there's a lot of interaction score. So, and with that, we kind of practice it, and then we'll look for feedback again. And should we discover that things are not going as per plan, we will also have another survey to ask them for suggestion on how to improve the situation better.
I think that's a really, really nice way to listen to your employees and align their aspirations, their goals, and their ways of working as per with the organization's goals. But Jasmine, if I may ask, many businesses might, for them, it might not be possible to completely remain remote in the future. But there are different sorts of industries who require people. But even there, do you think the meaning of flexibility there changes? How do you look at it that ways?
I think it's not so much about whether remote or not remote. I would rather say it's flexible, meaning to say that I have a lot of, I'm selling cars. I have a lot of workforce in the show floor. I got after sales. These are almost people that needs to be at the front of the customer. But what we advocate is flexibility, meaning to say that they still come back to work, but we are more flexible about the fact that so long as the schedule meets the timing of the customer, they can actually prioritize and schedule and in such a way that it's become meaningful. So you don't just come to work for the sake of coming to work, but you come to work in a way whereby you are the most productive schedule. So we give that flexibility. So to me, I think remote is one thing, but it's more flexibility that people want because some people have to have a morning of bringing the kids to school. They don't want to fight the traffic and they'll rather work a bit later, an hour, but they also end later. I think that's helpful for everyone, for themselves and for the company as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Great thoughts. Thanks, Jasmine. So how are you envisioning the future now? When I say remote work or flexible work, have you thought about how will it be maybe 6 months down the line or a year down the line? Do you want to continue with this? Has your management been talking about this?
We have been talking about this, and I'm absolutely sure that we are going to continue, and it's going to be a permanent arrangement for us because to us, our scope of work evolves around our customer. So I think it's the customer timing that will shape our forces moving forward. And along the way, what we want to do is to continue to offer that flexibility, but with accountability to all our staff, so that at the end of the day, they can plan the timing so that it's a meaningful timing for both organization and themselves as well.
Yeah, I think what you said was very, very important here. Flexibility with accountability. I think that is the
Correct.
key here, because yes, you can get flexibility, but how accountable are you to the work you're assigned with, what you're
Correct.
supposed to do? I think, and if employees feel that, they can then put in their best efforts to create a successful organization. So great thoughts there. And finally, Jasmine, before we wrap up this conversation, what tips would you give to other CEOs? Because for CEOs, it's a very tough time. You have to look at business, you have to look at people, that balance, that dilemma, bringing back people to office. The pandemic still keeps going and coming. There's still challenges, disruptions happening. What advice would you give to CEOs to keep that balance intact?
I think the CEO of these centuries, we have to be first open-minded, and we must be able to get the best talent to be around you and making sure that you trust them to do the best job.
Yeah.
Because it's only with trust that you can get full empowerment, and you can always believe that the culture will be great. And with a great culture, you come with a great accountability. It doesn't really matter whether remote or flexibility, because the sense of ownership of your people will be so strong that they help you to overcome whatever obstacle you might face in the future.
Yeah, I think that's really, really beautiful. I think focusing on that, focusing on your people, giving them that flexibility and trusting them. I think the baseline of everything here is trust. If you trust your people that they will do their best, no matter where they're working from or what time are they working at, but it's flexible, but it's matching your business model. I think that's what CEOs should focus on, and trust your employees, listen to your employees, and then focus on leading your business and your people towards the future, which hopefully will be brighter than what it was in the past 2 years. So on that note, Jasmine, thank you so much for your time for this conversation. There's so much to learn from you. I believe forward-thinking organizations and CEOs like you are going to be front runners in this entire transformation that our workplaces are going through right now. So thanks for sharing those thoughts. I'm sure our audience today will have a lot of key takeaways on why flexibility is so important in the future that we're looking at in the workplace. If you want your people to be loyal to you, trust them. If you want them to stick around, give them the flexibility to work the way they want. When trust is there, when you're listening to what they need, this is what will create forward-looking, future-looking, and organizations that will be able to face any challenges. So thank you, Jasmine, once again for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. And for everyone else, thank you so much for joining us for this session. Stay tuned for our next mega panel session on the topic from office to remote to hybrid and back. What will work look like in 2022 and beyond? See you on the other side, everyone. Thank you once again.